Football with friends is fun as hell. My name is Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier on a big Monday. It really is a big Monday, man. We got news from the weekend. Cody, I was thinking we were going to come on here and talk about like Nico Yamaliava and all the rest of that. I wouldn't mind talking about that, but man, there's other stuff that we just need to get to today. Texas lands its first, not really its first commitment of the spring transfer portal window because that won't be opening until Wednesday. But Stanford wide receiver Emmit Mosley that was visiting on Friday. Emmit Mosley the fifth commits to Texas. We'll talk about that. We talked about him some on Friday. We also had closed practice today. No media access to it. I did manage to scrape up, cobble together a few practice notes from some sources around practice. Hopefully we'll get to some of that stuff. Steve Sarkisian after practice met with the media. So some updates on what's going on at Texas practices. And of course, we're also coming off a really big recruiting weekend where Jason was camping out around Moncrief and stalking young teenage boys and asking them a lot of questions. Cody, Emmit Mosley the fifth to Texas. Your first thoughts?
I like him. I like him a lot. We talked about him on Friday. He's coming in for a visit. I'm a big fan. I basically said my first comment on the Orange Bloods post about the commitment was Robert Woods meets Khalil Shakir plus. That's kind of where I'm at with him. I think he's really good. I don't want to get to the point where like people have to remember where Matthew Golden was a year ago from right now. But he's kind of got some Golden to not maybe his game as much
Not
as
stylistically,
I would
but
say.
it's a similar type. It's a similar level of prospect. It feels like, if that
That's what I
makes
was
sense.
getting at. Yeah. So that's where I'm at with him.
Yeah. Well, just curious. Well, like, what do you feel like? I'll tell you. I'll tell you how I feel. But what does that mean to you? Because I kind of feel the same way, but I'm not sure if you and I mean it the same way.
What do you mean?
The Golding thing.
Yeah. Like where he was a year ago right now, I think is about where this kid's at right now.
As far as his
Maturity in the position.
okay.
Golden had a lot more obviously special teams under his belt at Houston, and he had 2 years under his belt. This kid has 1 year under his belt. I wouldn't say he's as advanced, but I think he's just on the right there on the heels of where Golden was a year ago right now as far as being overlooked, as far as his maturity at the position. They play, like you said, two different styles. This kid plays a lot more in the slot, 312 slot snaps in the slot, 152 out wide. I think that helps this offense, obviously, being that it now gives you probably a better feel where you now can say, all right, we have 3 guys that play slot, three guys that can play X, 3 guys that can play Z, and we can just maybe roll from here. They won't because they'll let these guys work cross positionally. Speaking of which, I feel like I heard a note over the weekend about McCutcheon. Oh yeah, it was one of the recruiting notes. I'll talk about that later. But I'm not saying that he can in a year become like this, like look at him as a first round pick guy.
Right.
But I think like if you go back
In
a year,
fairness, we didn't think that about Golden last year.
this is top range of outcome for Matthew Golden right now is be a first round pick.
Yeah.
A year ago right now. If you're looking at it, you're like, what's the range of outcomes? I don't even know if anybody would even utter the words first round pick a year from now. Like most of the conversation, even up until the playoffs, was Golden will be back next year. Bond's probably going to go to the draft. Right?
Yeah.
That was even up until like 3 months ago. It was like, yeah, Bond's going to go to the draft. If he runs fast, he'll probably be tickling the first round. And Golden's going to be back at Texas because they need him to be. And that was the plan all along. And boy, were we, I'll say I was
that's
definitely wrong
probably
on
more
that.
like 4 or 5 months ago, but not
Yeah,
quite.
whatever. Yeah, my months are all messed up. But yeah,
Right.
4 or 5 months ago. So it's like, where can this kid get within a year? I mean, he can be playing Z, like starting Z for sure. Within, like during the year. And that has nothing to do with Parker Livingston. That has all to do with this kid, as far as his talents. And I think you look at like, this guy's caught footballs at the Power 5 level.
Mm-hmm.
That gives him a little bit of a leg up on Parker. Now, Parker's got a relationship with Arch. I'm not going to argue with that. I think that Parker's going to start. This kid's the fourth. This kid's the fourth receiver day one.
Right. And then, but then for him, I mean, obviously he thinks that, it's at that point it's game on, right? That's what
And the opportunities go up, right?
Yeah. That's the way I see it. As far as his game, I'm so I went back and watched just a few of the games. I think I watched Syracuse. He didn't play much versus Syracuse. That game was like the third game of the season. You got to remember this was a freshman. We talked about it before. The way that he came on through the end of the season actually technically classified him for what we call in football analytics and like in mainly in like dynasty fantasy football, but it's an analytical principle that I feel like a lot of people are starting to use. I know that even there are NFL teams that are now use breakout age and breakout ratings, and it's been a pretty good predictor. And so I don't know what day Mosley was born, but he's sure to have a breakout age somewhere 18, maybe young age 19, a true freshman breakout, which is, as we talked about before, um, taking the average of the team market share of receptions, the team market share of receiving yards, and the team market share of receiving touchdowns. And if all three of those equal out to something over 20%, that means you had your breakout season. And so if somebody doesn't get to that average of 20 until their junior season, that was a junior year breakout, an age 21 breakout, something like that. These guys that break out at age 18, age 19, it's usually a really good predictor. And it's even more, uh, maybe I should say impressive. I don't even know who that quarterback's name is, number 14. Do you know what his name is?
Ashton Daniels.
He's not very good.
Yeah, he's horrible.
Um,
He's in the Alan Bowman tier.
yeah. And he's also playing alongside a guy that could be a day 2 wide receiver, number 13, Alec Iamaner. Iamaner has the body type that's always going to mean that he's going to be the dude who's positioned outside. It's just the way he is. It's not. It wouldn't be a consideration to move him into the slot. That's why we saw the 63.8% slot rate from Mosley last year at Stanford. With that being said, to me, he does look more like a slot. He's not a speed burner. I don't think that he's just going to be able to make just an easy, super easy transition to be able to make some of those plays and do some of the things that guys like Aaron Butler and Parker Livingstone could do, just given their God-given speed on the outside. He's really good with his choice routes. He's awesome when you give him a two-way go. That stuff to me generally is like slot stuff to me. And while he's got really soft hands, you love the way he frames the football. I saw in the Houston game, so just a little bit of contested catch stuff, starting to creep up a little bit. Cody, when you and I were talking about that pre-show, you kind of shooed that aside and said, dude, that Houston game was PFF had it as his worst game. I didn't know that. It was the game. It was the game whenever I saw it, I said, well, this certainly doesn't look like Louisville. And if you want to see the other side of the coin, watch the Louisville game where he goes off for, I thought it was 10 catches. Was it 13 catches?
13 for 168 and 3 touchdowns.
Yeah. So, I mean, obviously, you do that. You can't put that genie back in the bottle, right? That's the game where you look at him where I just said that to me looks like Amon-Ra St. Brown as a Detroit Lion taking over a football game. Whereas Mike Comp is not so much as a Robert Woods or a Khalil Shakir coming out. He reminds me a lot of Dante Pettis coming out. And that's a good college player, man.
Great college player.
I just and dude, I mean, looking into some of his PFF, I think PFF's cockamamie, but he is like I was just looking at the passer rating when targeted. Emmit Mosley, 105.7. The likely, I'd say certainly the betting favorite to be the number one wide receiver taken in this NFL draft upcoming. Teteroy McMillan, 105.8. So it's like, I mean, that's got to be a little bit of decent signal there. Whereas if you look at his yards per route run for Mosley, it's 1.78. That's not good, right? Now you can say that, during the regular season before Texas got to the college football playoff, whenever Matthew Golden sort of elevated to the level of Matthew Golden that we're basing our evaluation off of, he was just at a 1.8 yards per route run. His epic end of season run only got him barely up to above 2. 1.78 is about what Isaiah Bond was last year. And so it should feel like if you're looking for an efficiency metric, If you think Bond was okay as far as being an efficient player, even during the times when he was hurt last year, he had Bond like efficiency with a bad quarterback and a guy who I guess we probably need to consider an alpha in his offense, an Elikai manner, even if we don't consider him maybe as highly as some other draft analysts consider him as far as his NFL projection. So to me, it just becomes super interesting to say, all right. So with Mosley, you have DeAndre Moore, who's going to play mostly in the slot, even if Texas plays more 11 personnel next year, which I think that they will. I just think they will. I don't think that Texas has two tight ends that they can get on the football field right now over a slot wide receiver. I think they're going to probably be an 11 personnel like 60% of the time. It'll be like 60-40. Right.
That'll be the most of the last 4 years, right?
I just think it has to. There's just not really a tight end of consequence unless somebody comes available in the portal. And so I think that I think that gives you a little bit of, DeAndre Moore is only used to running 40% of the snaps, right? 45% of the snaps. So even if his routes get cut down a little bit, you get Mosley involved some in the slot. And yes, he's going to have to get involved some outside. Just where that happens is where it becomes confusing to me, because he's certainly not he's not a 1-for-1 replacement for like a Wingo. His contested catch rate was only 53.3% last year. There's some concerning contested catch stuff, as I mentioned in the Houston game. Not a lot of play strength in that game as far as contested situations. Again, only a freshman though, right? Got better throughout the whole course of the season. I just wonder where. To me, he looks like a slot guy, dude. He looks more like a slot guy to me. The more and more I thought about it, it's like I'm like, can that guy really do what Butler or Livingstone or Khalil Lockett can do with their speed? And look, maybe he's faster than I think. Matthew Golden was much faster than I thought he ended up being, right? And coming back to what you said about Golden, just kind of bring the conversation back around. To me, whenever I thought about Golden, I thought this thing happened a lot like Golden, right? He came in early. It was obviously the staff liked him. It happened quick. There wasn't much muss or fuss or anything about this. It happened quick. They identified their guy. They liked him. They got him in. He looks good. He looks like a solid addition. He's not a graduate transfer. He's a guy that you could have for, Golden. You could have him for only 2 more years, right? Possibly. But with this guy, you could have him for another 3 years if you wanted him. And to me, I kind of feel the same way about him whenever I watch him that I felt about Golden.
Yeah.
That this guy doesn't look like to me like he's an absolute superstar, but he looks like a good player that can do a lot of really nice things that could help this football team. And one where you look back and you said, man, that was a good move by Sark and this staff to identify that guy, get it done quick. Not let this become some kind of weird bidding war. But I think with Golden, I looked at him and I agreed with what Dana Holgerson said about him. And that is, that guy right there is built to be a Z wide receiver. And I can't say that I see the same thing about Emmit Mosley the fifth. I think to me he looks like I said, man. If you watch him versus Louisville, you'll think to yourself that looks like Amon-Ra St. Brown. Just a elite volume weapon out of the slot.
What do you make of? So this past year, your data might have it different, but this is what PFF has. DeAndre Moore did not take more than 5 snaps out wide all year in a single game. Everything was in the slot, as we know, until the playoffs. In the playoffs, like I said, he never had a game where he had more than 5 snaps out wide. In the playoffs, in Week 16, he had 14 out of 38 wide, 6 in the conference championship, 7 in the bowl game, and 14 out of 45 in the semifinal against Ohio State. So he's playing more outside. When you think of Mosley, who played 67% of the time in the slot this last year, and you think of DeAndre Moore, who plays everything predominantly out of the slot, and Dalen McCutcheon, a guy that they've said has had, arguably the best camp outside of Parker Livingston at the wide receiver position, and he plays mostly in the slot. I had a note from one of the prospects that said that he liked how Dalen was practicing because he reminds him of him a lot, but he said that they were using Dalen inside and outside.
Huh.
And I ask you this question in that, like I said, Moore played 14 snaps in that week 16 game and 14 snaps in the bowl game against Ohio State out wide, which is 3 times as much as he did all year in a single game. Do you think that there's a likelihood or a potential that they try to start to use DeAndre Moore a little bit more outside? I know like guys like JSN and Justin Jefferson,
Cooper Cup.
some of these guys that are dynamic. DeAndre Moore, we learned this year, is pretty dynamic.
Yeah.
This is my point here. Is
Do you think DeAndre Moore's faster than Emmit Mosley the fifth?
what?
Do you think Moore is faster than Mosley?
Not even a question.
I mean, I kind of think it's not I can't be sure, right? But I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I think Mosley's like a 4.58 guy, and I think Moore's like probably a 4.44 guy.
Okay. So you're saying, do you think that I think I know where you were going, but
Getting the best guys in the field. Again, not a slight to Parker because Parker's fast. I'm just saying if they like Moore a lot, which they do, he's the leader in the room right now. Wingo's got the X spot, right? And you getting this Mosley kid in there that played 67% of the time in the slot. If Moore played a little bit more outside during the playoffs, it tells us that they like utilizing him there. If McCutcheon's playing good, it seems like now the slot spot almost an overabundance of players is what it feels like, kind of. So who of these guys is going to be the one that plays outside and gets opportunities more outside? Is it more from a draft perspective? It's going to incentivize all parties for him to play outside, move around, and be kind of I don't want to say a joker, but a piece that they can play with and, play Z, play X, be a all 3 position guy.
Yeah. I mean, I guess
Wingo's not going to play.
I think I see DeAndre Moore I think I see him more as a flanker.
Yeah, but I'm just saying
not really an egg.
He's 6 foot 200 pounds. Like that's the archetype. Like that's Chase. That's I know he's not Chase. I'm not saying he's Chase. That's Chase. That's Neighbors. That's Diggs. That's all these guys that we've seen excel in all these different spots.
Yeah. You're kind of catching me a little off guard. We didn't know you were going to go the route of talking about DeAndre Moore possibly being the one to move outside. But I sort of prefer him outside to Emmit Mosley. I think Emmit Mosley just looks better out of the slot, dude. He looks really good out of the slot. You know, I'm not sure that his skill set fits as well outside. And look, to be honest, I'm not sure where those 38% of routes were that he played outside. I just got done watching 3 games and didn't really see it much at all.
He did it quite a bit in that Louisville game. He moved up, man. I don't know what the deal was. A-Manor had a terrible game that day.
It felt like to me that that was just like a slot machine volume kind of game, though.
So that game,
I'd have to go back and I feel like I just watched it. It doesn't feel like it was a 38% clip.
I don't know. I don't think I can sort it by. Can I sort it by game?
Probably.
Receiving slot. Okay, so receiving slot, receiving wide. So like I said, he had 91 snaps wide this last year. 28%, 63% in the slot. So he had 29 against Louisville, 18 in the slot, 22 against San Jose State, 23 in the slot.
Okay.
14 against SMU. Everything else was sub 10 snaps in the slot. Or sorry, out wide. Sorry. Yes. So the one game, Louisville, game where he had more snaps and out wide than he did in the slot.
Oh, so they consider it out wide if it's a 2 wide receiver set and he's kind of still inside, like he's in the slot, but there's nobody outside of him.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, his positioning on the field felt very similar. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so that's a PFF thing. All right.
From a perspective, though, that guy has to be outside, though.
Yeah, no, I get that. Okay, so that's an interesting little nuance, and it's good to point out that he did play in his best game. He did play more technically outside than he did in the slot, even though it is my distinct impression, although I'm not 100% sure. Like I said, all I did was review the all-22 right before I came on. I think that some of those where he was outside, he was still operating in a part of the field that you would consider for a slot wide receiver. But that's neither here nor there. I think you bring up an interesting point and an outside the box type of point, that this doesn't need to necessarily be a conversation about how do you is this guy like, it's like, I think it's the super like mid IQ thing to say it's like he's going to come in and take Parker Livingstone's job,
Correct.
because it's just like, if anything's going to, I think what the galaxy brain thing is to say, like what you just said, is to say he's going to come in and play slot. And they're going to move DeAndre Moore around and have him play slot. They're going to have him play at the Z, maybe even have him play a little the X, maybe even have him play a little like Silas Bolden type of stuff.
Yeah.
Get the ball in DeAndre Moore's hands. We've seen that he can be dynamic. Whereas I feel like you got a player who coming in, and Emmit Mosley, who really like I really like his skill set, dude. I think he could bring a lot to. I think he could be a really good Texas Longhorns football player. I'm struggling to.
He's your first down merchant, dude. Look at all the receivers in this room. Who's your guy that is just like? Now you could say Wingo, you could say Parker, but like when you think about it, if you think about DeAndre Moore in a more dynamic set or style, who's your, you don't have a Gunnar Helm right now. You don't have a guy that you just know dependable at the sticks.
Oh, dude, yeah, man.
This kid, 26 first downs on 48 receptions this year.
Yeah, dude, you love that.
3 came in one game.
Mm-hmm.
Like, he feels like he's going to be that guy that's just that little dude that just like kind of like Khalil Shakir. He just gets peppered. He just catches it. He just like Tyler Lockett. He just catches it and falls down. First down. And it's like, cover that guy. It's like, I can't cover him. Sorry.
The old Tyler Lockett business decision. That catch and fall thing. He hadn't got. I can't believe he doesn't get more called out more for that by the announcers calling these games. But it has kept that little guy healthy for this many years, dude.
Seems like he's always like down. Don't kill me. Like
it's tilting. It's tilting, man. Whenever you have that guy in fantasy football for sure. I was tilted over the weekend. My mom came over to visit, and after she left, she said, "Guess where I'm going on my way home? I'm going to Texas Beef Traders." I said, "Mom, I want to go to Texas Beef Traders, man. What are you gonna do?" She's like, "I'm gonna go in there. You always say go in there, go see Darren, go talk to Darren." She's like, "I'm gonna go in and do it. We're right out here. Like it's on the way back into Austin." And sure enough, she left that place just floored with the kind of service that you get there, the product that you can get there. I haven't checked with her to see if she's eaten any of it yet, but Darren sent her home with some of the Piedmontese ground beef. She's older, and so she tries to watch her cholesterol and all that stuff. And I just can't believe that Piedmontese ground beef tastes so beefy and tastes so good and tastes so delicious, and it has less cholesterol and less saturated fat and all this stuff than 97% lean ground turkey.
Is it really?
What can you? How is that possible? It's amazing. It's heart healthy. It's good for you. There's never any vaccines, no antibiotics, no anything, man. I'll tell you this. They got the Wagyu beef too. And look, not to say anything like bad about the Wagyu beef. I think it's fine. But dude, it really reminded me, man, that MTX, that Mason certified Angus, I like it better than the Wagyu. I know Wagyu's fancy. It's bad. Like it's a little more expensive, but
the fattiness is nice. I like fatty a little bit.
Man, it could just be that for me. It made me realize how much I love just the certified Angus MTX beef and just all the delicious cuts they have out there. They bring in new cuts, bring in new steak every Wednesday. You're getting it fresh right from the processor. Go check them out. You get 10% off whenever you tell them that you heard about them here on Football with Friends. It's right there at the corner of Loman's Crossing and 620 in the heart of Lakeway, or at TexasBeefTraders.com. We're also selling beef jerky. For anybody that might have ordered beef jerky there from Texas Beef Traders, here's the deal with that. So if you order the hot honey, they had to there was an issue with shipping, I guess, because of all the, I don't know, there's some shipping stuff right now. And so it's just the packaging for it. They had to wait a couple days last week, and they had a bunch of hot honey orders that from last week, but they got those out apparently over the weekend. So if you ordered hot honey and you're waiting on it, or an order with hot honey and it didn't come in last week, you should be getting it in the next few days. Darren and them sent them all out. So if you want to order more, though, they got it all back now. You can scan that QR code. You get the awesome beef jerky from Texas Beef Traders that is co-branded here with your boys on Football with Friends. Again, TexasBeefTraders.com. Go check them out. Get your 10% off. And if you can't make it in, just call Darren, make your order. He'll take your 10% off. He'll just bring it to your house if you live in the Austin area. All right. Anything else on Mosley? Overall excitement meter. Where are you?
For him or for the wide receiver room?
No. How about for him, and then for how you feel about the new new look wide receiver room?
I'm at an excitement level of 7.5 for him.
If like Branch is a 10 and Arian Smith is a 0.
Yeah.
Okay.
7. And for the room, where the room is today, I'm probably at like an 8.5, a hard 8.5. Because I just personally really like a lot of the dudes. I personally really like. I mean, you know this. I've been a DeAndre Moore fan for a long time. I love DeAndre Moore. I think Aaron Butler's going to get an opportunity. McCutcheon's awesome. Like, this is a disgusting room. So
Yeah.
hard 8.5, maybe a 9.
I just like, you can't put it at a 9 saying that you think it's a 9, you think it's a 9 compared to like a Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase, kind of thing being a 10, and this is a 9, right? But to me,
I think you can.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you look at what, here you go. If you look at what just happened with Matthew Golden a year ago, and how Chris Jackson brought him along, he's not going to be a first-round pick here in 10 days. Ryan Wingo, who if we both took some truth serum, we would both say he's going to be a top 64 pick.
Wingo? Oh, truth serum for me.
So we're down the line here. Truth serum for Wingo, top 64 pick. I say top 64 because his build, that class is loaded.
He's fat. That build, you can't stay on this thing and say they all got to look just like Jamar Chase.
That's not what I'm saying. DK Metcalf, AJ Brown, these guys that we've seen be sickos.
Very fast. Yeah.
We've seen guys like this not get drafted in the first round. So I think he has personal. I'm just saying he'll be a top 64 pick. Okay. You look at DeAndre Moore. That guy's going to be a top 3-4 round pick today, if I would say. Projecting. Could be higher, especially if he shows this outside abilities. Parker Livingston, I think we're TBD. The size, speed thing, like that could really shoot him up to the moon. You look at the guys past that. We have the freshman class in Jamie French, who I told you I think is pro ready, could go to practice today and fit into a pro practice. That kid's got first round abilities. Khalil Lockett. What are we talking about? Alan McCutcheon, the guy in the slot. Like, there's like, what I'm trying to get to is,
you didn't mention Michael Terry yet either.
In 2028, we could look back and say, all right, look at the last 3 draft classes, 26, 27, 28. And you could have 6 or 7 guys that are top, probably 6, 7, maybe 8 guys that are top 100 picks. I think that's not out of the question.
Okay. And that equates to a 9 excitement meter for you for 2025?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because it's not a bunch of wild cards as much as it's a bunch of, hold me to this, okay? I'll say this. 7 players after the 2028 NFL draft. There'll be 7 current players on the current 2025 Texas Longhorn roster, wide receivers, that will be top 100 picks over the course of the next 3 draft classes.
I buy that. I buy it.
You'd buy it. 7. Wingo, Moore, French,
Lockett, Terry, and then all you got to do is you got to have
Mosley.
You got to have Mosley, Livingstone, or
Butler
hit.
Who are we missing? McCutcheon.
Yeah. You gotta just have what, two of those hit for top, just all with at least day two draft capital. Yeah, I'll buy it. Makes sense to me, man, for sure. Um, do you want to talk about some of this stuff from the visitors over the weekend? You told me you had some stuff on Turntine from
Yeah.
Jason. I haven't read all of Jason's stuff on all this just yet. So it's hard to. It's been a really eventful day, right? It's been an eventful day.
So I'll stick with the Dalen thing. So there's this wide receiver, Mason James from Norman, Oklahoma. From Norman, Oklahoma.
What's he doing?
He
What's he doing coming down to Austin to visit?
somebody on the board was like, "Is this the first ever player from Norman to come to Texas for a visit?" Um, he says that he was at practice. Dalen reminded him of himself, playing inside, playing outside. He's the same size as me. He's down to Washington, Missouri, Oklahoma, Texas. John Turntine said that somebody asked him, like, how many times have you been to here? Like 7, 8 times. He's like, yeah, man, a lot. Like I don't know. He's like, I hung out with Trevor Gooseby, Nick Brooks, Andre Kojo, and Jaden Chapman. He said that Brooks looked good. He was playing left tackle. Brooks across the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys, 8 guys that talked that there was video on. Like 5 of them brought up Nick Brooks.
I mean, dude, he looks really good. I mean, not that I've seen him outside of one practice, but every time I'm trying to get practice notes, man, like there's a little bit of a mention about Nick Brooks today in there. It's
Is
almost like
this
people are getting sick of. It's almost like I'm sick of writing about it.
Is this almost like a what would you compare this to? You've been doing this for 15 years. What would you compare this to? Like a day one you show up and you see something and you're like, we remember day one when this guy showed up. Like,
Huh.
is this kind of like a
But does it have to be a backup offensive lineman?
no. I'm thinking more like you see Orlando Pace or not Orlando Pace. Wow, I guess Orlando Pace too. I was thinking Orlando Brown for the first time, like the size that this guy brings to the table. You're like, oh, like you roll up on like you when you went and saw Cam Williams and when he was in high school, and you're like, dude, I measured this dude's hands. This dude's just
Yeah.
like this is too easy,
Yeah, I
right?
mean, I would have to compare it to that because it's like
You could compare it
most
to
most of the
somebody
guys.
that's already in college or somebody that you like went to a pro day or a training camp and you saw somebody there for the first time. Like, what's the first thing that comes to your mind when you're like, man, I just see this guy and it's just he won't go away. Like anything in your memory bank that's just like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, no, well, it's and like it's good that you invoked Cam Williams because this really is perfect. But it's not the first time I saw him at Texas practice because I already knew how big he was, and that's the thing. A lot of these guys that I've seen, I've kind of maybe seen them at a camp or something, before, right? Or before to where it wasn't. But with Nick Brooks, the guy's from Iowa,
Yeah.
right? He comes in, you're just like, I don't know him from Adam. It does remind me of seeing Cam Williams from the first time that I saw him, and really the the first and the second. The first time I saw him was at the Rivals camp whenever I first met him, and just started screaming about this guy. And the second time when it really cemented in my mind that this was going to be a really good college player, which is what he turned out to be. I know that people are down on him now because of the way he ended, when he was injured and everything to end the season, but he was still really good for Texas. He It was at D-Hawk's King of Dallas camp, King of the Hill Dallas camp, that he just totally dominated and won that thing. And I'm just like, he's too big to move this well. It's so crazy. It's like feels the same way to me as this guy. We have Pray for Your Church. By the way, one of the coolest usernames that we've had on here before. I certainly agree that everybody should be doing the same. Nick Brooks holding down LT for the future. Look, I mean, it's true.
What does
It's
that
like,
say about Turntine and Ojo?
dude, I mean, John.
Do we just bank on this thing getting shook up where it's like Brooks is going to right tackle, one of Kojo and Baker are bumping inside the guard, and the other one's probably gone. Like, is that just
Okay, well, so here's the thing.
is that
So
just we just got to deal with that?
let's lay the facts on the ground as they are right now. What did Turntine say? He's basically saying that Texas is saying that I'm a priority.
Yep.
Okay. Felix Ojo. I was talking to actually I'm gonna save that for the war room.
Good tease.
People there are people out there who believe that
Well, he's at Ohio State this weekend.
there
Again.
are people there who believe that it's Texas and Ohio State. Okay.
Yeah.
But his mom wants him to stay in Texas, I feel like. So
You're gonna
you
get
have
that reverse Fasusi.
yeah, right. So you have gosh, you got to get a reverse Fasusi eventually, right? You got to gosh. Um that hurts losing Fasusi.
All right, so back on track. So Ojo and Turntime, we
um,
got Gooseby
okay,
and
so all
Brooks.
right, you got those two. Okay. And then now you have this giant sticking point here of Nick Brooks, who everybody says looks really, really good. And they apparently had some individual inside run drills today. And it's just curtains for you going up against this dude.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah. him. The other guy that was mentioned was Nate Kibble.
What the hell, dude?
Yeah.
It's just curtains. You're like, bro, we're in practice 9, 10. It's just, yeah, you just go against the skid. It's over. Doesn't matter.
Yeah, it's curtains. Yeah. But it's like
6 months ago, we didn't think the kid could tie his own shoes.
Well, I mean, his film looks sloppy. He looks like he's overweight. He looks like he can't move. He weighs 400 pounds.
I know.
Dude, sometimes when Flood, dude, there's two ways that this thing goes with Kyle Flood.
Flood didn't even get his hands on. That was all Becton.
Right. I'm not saying, I'm talking about Flood and his just total meathead evaluations about if he's giant, I want him. Sometimes it goes the way of Nick Brooks. Sometimes it goes the way of Connor Stroh. Right. That's just the way it. That's the way it is. Not saying that Connor Stroh is never going to be able to make it. He might still, but I mean, he's still kind of working third team right now and all the rest. Like he was always going to be a super long bake, right? And then there's also the direction of an Andre Kojo, who's like Brandon Baker hasn't taken his job yet. Andre Kojo is still working out with the first group some of the time.
Back and forth. It's like the Hudson and Campbell thing.
Yeah, exactly. And could it stay that way through the season? I tend to think at tackle, you don't want it to be like that. As much as you can maybe do it at guard a little bit easier.
Yeah. Cover them up.
Now, as far as with what's happening with Kojo, and this is not from what a source told me. A source only told me those guys are still rotating in and out. But my intuition is that if you have Brandon Baker taking all the snaps ahead of Andre Kojo all through spring, you incentivize Kojo, who's a player that's obviously ascending to some degree, whether he's as good as Baker at this point or not, or whether it's smarter to play Baker or him or not. It's a guy you'd like to have on the team. You don't want to be being like, I'm totally recruited over. I'm going to go to the portal. Right. So,
because I mean, if that happens on Wednesday, then you're in a spot. Because right now we're starting to feel really good about this tackle tandem depth for the season.
I mean, well, it's kind of weird with the right one.
Yeah, but
right?
you have to feel good about it.
But with the left tackle, it's like I'm not surprised at all about the whole Nick Brooks thing. And so that's how the state of tackles looks right now. And now we know how the state of guards looks, right? We've heard some news about Kibble, but behind NATO, we haven't. I'm getting to the point, and again, this is not from a source, right? But from what I've heard of Kibble, now he's behind DJ Campbell at right guard, right?
Yeah.
It's Jaden Chapman who's at left guard directly behind NATO. I get the idea, and I'm interested to hear what you think here about this, Cody. Would Texas be better off if an injury or just something, or NATO was bad, or something like this? Would Texas be better off moving Kibble to left guard and leaving Cole Hudson at center, or moving Hudson to left guard, where he's obviously played guard, and then moving Connor Robertson up to center, because I'm told pretty reliably that Connor Robertson is basically now ahead of Daniel Cruz, even though those guys were kind of splitting to work to start.
That's not good news. I probably would rather not see Connor Robertson play.
I thought, well, it's kind of like, and that's not a matter of me saying like Cole Hudson's so good, you just got to keep him in. Like, I'm not saying that at all.
Yeah.
But
It's more about
has Connor Robertson improved from what we saw in that 2023 Oklahoma game? I mean,
yeah.
you would think he would have had to have. But
So you're saying Chapman's a 0 then?
I'm not saying he's a 0, but he's moved. I mean, the thing about what does Chapman weigh?
I think he's down to 30. What the hell was
Because
it?
Chapman was always lighter than the rest. He came like I was like, man, at his, like, dude, he's a little undersized for
300.
Yeah. It's like he's kind of built more like a tackle. The fact that they're playing him at guard is a little bit interesting to me. Right? But that's where he's been playing. But whenever he first came in, they were playing him as like a backup left tackle.
So, I mean, yeah, the room. If hypothetically you lost a Kojo in the portal, which hopefully does not happen on Wednesday, he needs to.
I don't think it will, because at this point, I think he probably thinks he's going to be a starter, or at least has a really good shot of being a starter. Like, those guys are in a dogfight, man. Brandon Baker, like, he's in a dogfight with a 5-star with a 5-star redshirt freshman.
Yeah. So, if we expect Gooseby to go to the draft next year with a good year, the question is then,
what about Ojo? What about Turntine? And how does that work with the emergence of Nick Brooks?
if you had one of those guys, let's just say one. Because two, I mean, I know there's lean there, but let's be honest with ourselves. Especially if this tackle group does what the tackle group's on the pace to do, and if Brooks is like broken out by the season happening, and Baker or Kojo is playing at a high level, like the odds of both of those dudes landing at Texas is, I would say, probably not the highest. Because the idea that they're both just like content with not playing day one tackle and having to compete at guard or something, or just be backups. I don't know if you could get them both to be convinced that way. But so hypothetically, Gooseby leaves. You have Brooks, you have Baker, you have Kojo, and then you have one of Turntine or Ojo. Then what do you do if you were the offensive line coach? And I know you're not, but
what would I do with what?
You have Brooks, Baker, Kojo, three guys that we would classify as right tackles, but Brooks is currently playing left. And then you have recruited in Turntine.
Turntine?
If you got Turntine, does Brooks stay at left? Turntine's groomed for a year. If you have Ojo, I think Ojo's more day one ready.
So by then it would be Nick Brooks in his second season, his first season starting, and then right, and then so
hypothetically. I mean, but we also had to know last week from practice where they said that Brooks was competing, Sark said watching Baker, Kojo, and Brooks compete. So they could be cross training him right now too.
Cross training who?
Brooks.
He's the backup left tackle.
Pure.
Yes.
So you don't read into when Sark last week said watching Baker, Kojo, and Brooks compete.
Yeah, I don't. I just think
read into that.
Just seeing all those guys out there and seeing them compete.
Okay, he's just putting these guys in a bucket.
Yeah, I get the distinct impression that they just really like Nick Brooks as that next left tackle behind Gooseby, and that he's a beast, man. Like, he's good.
Do you think he's do you think he's a?
I mean, whenever we first got the reports that he was going to be the number 2, and we were getting those well before spring camp even started, well before, and I'm like, nah, we'll see.
Yep.
I mean, if you watch the show, you guys know. We've talked about it. It's like I feel like we talked about it almost as much as we talked about specs. You can turn to alcohol. If you're going to turn to alcohol, don't spend a lot of money on it. go to our partners at Specs, man. Almost 700 of you guys watching right now between X and YouTube. It's all made possible because of the Specs chat line. Thanks so much to our great friends over at Specs.
Have you heard the news? Specs is turning 63, and we're celebrating you. Whether you're looking for whiskey, canned cocktails, or wine, Specs has it all with Texas-sized savings all month long. Specs. Cheers to save.
Yes, football with friends is indeed fun as hell. I'm again Alex Dunlap here with Cody Carpentier on a big Monday. Please make sure you're subscribed to the channel and you like the show. It's a big help to us and does indeed help us out immensely. We have I just got a note from my wife here. It looks like my kids got promoted today at Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. So big ups to them.
Another notch.
Big ups to me. Yeah, man. One more step towards that next belt. All right. We were talking about turn time. And so the question is, what do I do? I'm just like, how tall is turn time?
6'3".
Guard.
6'3", 268.
You're going to play guard at first, dude. Look, we're going to
Left guard's wide open, man.
You're just going to have to do it to start, but you're probably you're our guy like Kelvin, right? And we want you to come in and just play. We know you're going to be ready to play. We're going to have you back up at 300 pounds. Like, we've seen you move. Whether that pitch is good or not, I think I just don't think that other school, and we know the look, honesty is like, it's not like honesty is at a premium with these coaches as far as exactly what their plans are to deploy you or what exactly they're going to do. Half the time they don't do exactly what they've said, or they might have hinted at things during the recruitment process. But during the whole time they say, but then again, it is the University of Texas. You're going to have to come in and compete. It's like no one's getting handed a job, right? So that's the out that the coaches always have. But they do say, it's like, but hey, dude, listen, like, well, I mean, there's the depth chart. It's right here in my office, right? Here's where you would slot in, right? You got to compete for it. It's like there's still three other guys right here.
Yeah.
But I would just say it would. Are you really hearing from the coaches at Ohio State or whatever place you're going that they see you as being a future NFL offensive tackle?
A&M and Michigan.
Michigan, are they really saying that? 6'3", 270.
Doesn't exactly strike me as a Michigan left tackle.
Yeah, right. Is that your next Taylor Lewan? I mean, it's like, so I think that's probably the conversation because Felix Ojo plays tackle.
Yeah.
Now where he goes as far as the
Ojo might just come in and put on the table for everybody at right tackle.
Yeah. Or it could come in like, who knows? Maybe we're over baking the grits on Brooks and everybody's just telling us that he's so good and he's not as good as everybody says. I tend to believe he is. I thought I had three thoughts from the first day of practice, and Nick Brooks was like the first one.
Yep.
So it's, I mean, when we keep hearing it over and over and over again, like I said, I've heard it so much. I feel like people are going to start thinking that like Nick Brooks's agent is like my source on this. You know what I mean?
It's actually his mom.
Oh, is his mom his agent?
No.
Oh,
I'm buying into your theory here.
Oh.
Saying your source, it's not actually his agent, it's actually his mom. That's who your source is.
Just so it can't be you're hearing it from a lot of people. So yeah, it's gonna be interesting. It's crazy to say how you gonna fit all these guys, how you gonna take these studs, all that in a spot wherever it's like you're not even sure how the offensive line is gonna be this year, right? It's pretty wild. I don't know who the starter's gonna be. I don't know who the starter's gonna be at right tackle, right? Money. I mean, I understand you get them on campus and let them figure it out, but still, I mean, we're here to just talk about what could happen. So we got an hour a night to talk these things over.
Hey, don't go off. We'll lose another commenter.
No, I would never go off on Money B like I do on Charles. Money B's an OG around here, dude.
Old Ricky Steamboat got top roped last Friday.
Ricky Steen, I forgot who that
I don't
was.
even know what the hell his name was. Ricky Stinicky. I don't know what the hell it was.
Do you think? Do you have anything else you want to hit just from the weekend as far as visitors and stuff?
So from the visitor perspective, there's a couple other ones. Chase Calcutt, the safety from
Calicut. That's great. But can we just? What did Turntine say? He's down to Texas and Michigan. And
Turntine said he's down to 3 OVs, UT, Michigan, and A&M. He said he's going to commit when he gets the feel and when God tells him to. And then he said one of the things that he did when they were here was he sat down with Kyle Flood and they were watching offensive line film and helping him out and kind of showing him what it's like when I'll be here or when I come here.
When I come here, I love that.
That was the quote. He said basically,
just get Turntine and Ojo. Dude, that would be so, just get Turntine and Ojo.
So a couple DB notes was Chase Calcutt, the safety, 6'2", 6'3" safety from North Shore, had some interesting takes here because he'll be at Miami, Ole Miss, Washington, and then Texas is his only in-state. He said it's pretty much home because it's North Shore's obviously Dallas.
No, North Shore's the Galena Park. It's like Houston area.
Houston. Okay. Oh yeah, you're right. I watched him on a Houston podcast. That's right. He said that Mark Orfe, the new DB coach from Rutgers, and Dwayne Aquina had already been recruiting him before they got to Texas.
Isn't Orfe from North Shore?
Yeah. So Orfe, like I said, so I was getting to that. Orfe recruited him to Rutgers. Aquina recruited him to Arizona. Orfe went to the same high school and graduated from the same high school that Calcutt's from, which is North Shore. And yeah. And then he said that he sat down and watched film with Dwayne Aquina. And he said that he only knew one player that Aquina showed him. It was Earl Thomas.
Oh, gosh.
Everybody else, he didn't know who they was.
Huh.
So I thought that was kind of interesting. But it seems like a kind of a recruiting.
Gosh, Texas needs to get into North Shore, man. It's been an issue for. Didn't Ed Oliver go to North Shore? Let me look.
I couldn't tell you that.
I think he did. I could be wrong. Maybe he's from Spring, Texas, something. But I know that they missed on my guy. They missed on my guy. I'm already blanking on his name. The corner from last year. I had him as the top prospect in the whole.
Devin Sanchez.
Ed
Oliver went to Westfield in Houston.
Yeah. Okay. So not North Shore.
This guy.
North Shore, there was he was in the 2016 recruiting class, I believe. There was a North Shore they have these safeties that come from there. I forget his name, but that safety that they had in North Shore. These North Shore guys always elude Texas, man.
Calebon Chason, Zach Evans, those are active NFL guys. Dorrance Armstrong, active NFL guy.
Well, they fumbled the bag with Dorrance Armstrong. They could have had him at that one camp that Charlie.
Earl Mitchell.
What?
Earl Mitchell, DeAndre White, Corey Redding.
Was there? Corey, of course, played at Texas.
That's the goated one.
There's a Deontay. It's like Deontay something.
DeAndre White.
No, it's a guy that turned out not to be as good as he was a 5-star safety, though. He was just a sick prospect, but I don't think he turned out to be an NFL guy.
Cheeky Brown.
No.
2006. Devin Sanchez last year. Eric Monroe, 2016.
Eric Monroe, 2016. Yep.
Devin Harris is at UTSA right now. He was 2022.
Yeah.
Trey Hopkins.
Eric Monroe's. Cody, you ought to just write it down to go watch Eric Monroe 2016 huddle. Just a complete, just a sick puppy. I have no idea what happened to him, but yeah, man, it's this whole North Shore thing would be a really cool. That would be a real. That's not quite like it's like a Duncanville pipeline, but it's
one of the better Houston ones though.
I mean, might be I don't know, one of the
Houston ones,
maybe.
All right. One more note from a DB in the class. This guy's from North Carolina. He's actually from Cornelius, North Carolina, which I've lived in Carolina for a year, and I don't know where that's at. Samari Matthews. He's the number 3 cornerback in the class, 6'1", 185. He was stayed all weekend. He left today. They scrimmaged on Saturday. They were hitting hard. He was asked about players. He's the only one that gave really good answers about players. He said number 6, he's a long cornerback. He's got swag.
So that's Kobe Black.
And he's got swag, and he was playing island corner, is the way he explained it. Number 11 looked good. That's Cade Phillips. Number 4 was super smooth. That's Jelani McDonald. He said the day they offered him, he scheduled his OV. Texas has always been a school that was on his list that he wanted to get an offer from. When he got it, he scheduled the OV. He's got a ton of OVs. He's got like Florida State, Clemson, South Carolina, and Texas. And then I think he's trying to schedule one more. But he's a good player. 6'1", 185. Like I said, he's 29th right now in America, so he's technically a 5-star. So Samari Matthews is. But thought that was interesting. About Kobe. Long, swaggy. He's an island corner. Like that sounds like an alpha cornerback to me.
Yeah, dude. I mean, Kobe Black's awesome. It's like if you want to worry about anything about this Texas defense, I would not be worried one bit about the DBs.
One more thing. So only person that answered the question of what kind of food did they have today? Crawfish and tacos.
Oh, really?
Bryce Perry Wright said that, the D tackle.
You a crawfish guy? Do you like?
Never had crawfish.
Really?
Nope. I want to, but haven't had it. I feel like I'll know when I'm gonna have it. I'll be somewhere that has it and it's fresh.
You're not as too much of a spicy guy though, and man, they really kind of pepper those
The
things
Old
up.
Bay on there.
It's a lot of spice. I think it might be a little bit spicy for you. To me, it's like
I don't know. I will do it. I'll have it.
Yeah, it's a lot of work for each little piece of meat.
Yeah.
It's more something. It's kind of something to do more than something to eat, if that makes sense.
Sometime, somewhere, I'll have it.
Yeah.
Maybe one of our chatters will comment and say, "Hey, I got a crawfish house. Come down," and I'll come down.
All right. Now, you can email us, fwfemails@gmail.com. You can find us on X at Cody Carpentier, at Alex Dunlap NFL. Thanks so much to our great sponsors, Texas Beef Traders, Poncho Outdoors, who just has elite clothing for men, and myperfectfranchise.net, our good friend Andy Ludicky. He can change your life by helping you find the right franchise for you. And Specs, of course, the presenting sponsor for the Specs chat line, and just a great sponsor across the whole Orange Bloods channel. Thanks so much to all those guys. Thank you guys for being here. If you could please like the show, subscribe to the channel. If you could send the show to a friend, that would help us immensely. It's because of y'all that we continue to grow. But if you got sent the show by somebody, or you're just watching it on X or on YouTube, most of you are watching on X, and 99% of you are going to watch this tomorrow, on Tuesday, or later on in the week, whenever it is that you're watching it. Thank you for doing it. Just come back next time. Come back for the next show, for the Tuesday edition. We put a lot of time and effort into it. We want to make sure we get in, we get out, we talk football, and we don't waste your time, because we are ultimately respectful of it. All right? Thank you guys, man. We love y'all. Okay? God bless you. For Cody, I'm Alex. We're done.